When you think of the oil field, you probably picture grit, right? Hard hats, tough conditions, and for decades, that's exactly what it was. But behind that tough exterior, a massive change is brewing. An industry that was literally built on paper and instinct is now being rebuilt on data and algorithms. So today, we're going to break down that exact transformation, from the gritty reality of the past to the gigabytes of the future.
Okay, so let's just cut right to the chase. The old way? Think mountains of paperwork, handwritten daily reports, and making big decisions based on data that was hours, maybe even days old. The new way is a whole different ballgame. We're talking real-time information. Crews using mobile apps in the field, managers watching live dashboards in the office, and making proactive decisions that save time, save money, and seriously improve safety. This is the core shift we're diving into.
Now, to make this all real, let's not just talk theory. Let's look at a company on the ground that's living this change, B&B Roustabout Inc. Their journey is a fantastic example of how a traditional, successful company can hit the limits of those manual processes and make a really bold leap into a digital future.
So what pushes a company like B&B to change? Well, as they got bigger, their old manual systems just became a massive bottleneck. There was this huge lag between something happening in the field and the data getting to the office, which meant they were kind of flying blind. Managing multiple job sites became a huge headache, and it was starting to hit the bottom line. They knew they needed better information to make safer, more profitable decisions. Simple as that.
And this is so important. B&B's philosophy wasn't about throwing out their core values of grit and reliability. Not at all. The whole goal was to layer technology on top of what they already did best, using it as a force multiplier, to make those existing strengths even more powerful. That right there is a huge insight for any company looking at a digital transformation.
All right, so how they actually do it? What were the tools in their digital playbook that helped them tackle those challenges head-on?
B&B's strategy really rested on 4 key pillars. It all started with putting mobile tech in the hands of the crews, which then fed into live cost management. All of that was tied together by way better communication, and the end result? You guessed it, truly data-informed decisions.
First up, mobile-first field ops. And honestly, this was a total game changer. Just by giving crews mobile apps to log their tasks, safety checks, and progress right there from the job site, they instantly wiped out all that paperwork and the data delays that came with it. And all that real-time data from the field, it directly fueled their next big move, live job costing. By using platforms with integrated GPS, they could suddenly track their equipment and their labor with incredible accuracy. I mean, for the first time ever, they had a live financial picture of every single job. That's a massive advantage when it comes to managing your margins.
Next, they had to tackle the communication chaos. You know what I'm talking about. Scattered phone calls, endless text chains. They replaced all of that with centralized apps that connected crews, dispatch, and managers on one single platform. This cut down on confusion like you wouldn't believe and made sure everyone was working from the exact same up-to-the-minute information.
Okay, so B&B's success story is a perfect example, but it really highlights a much wider trend. Let's zoom out a bit and look at how these digital tools are fundamentally changing decision-making across the entire industry, turning what used to be a flood of raw data into concrete, meaningful action.
At the very heart of this shift is something called the intelligent dashboard. What is it? It's basically a tool that takes that overwhelming flood of data from the field and transforms it into clear, actionable insights. And this is what allows a company to stop just reacting to problems and start proactively optimizing their operations. The power of a dashboard is its clarity. I mean, look at this. In a giant spreadsheet, an inefficiency like the high cost at Site B could be totally buried in rows and rows of numbers. But on a dashboard, it just jumps right out at you, a clear red flag. This makes the data accessible, allowing more people to spot and solve problems way faster.
Let's look at another real-world case. Field Equip. They had a service company that needed to give their clients real-time data from these chemical treatment trailers. The catch? These trailers were in super remote, low-bandwidth locations. The solution was an IoT gateway, basically a smart device that connects field equipment directly to the cloud.
But here's the really clever part of their solution: data caching. We all know internet connections in the field can be spotty at best. So when the connection inevitably dropped, the gateway would just store the data instead of losing it. Then, once it was reconnected, it sent all that cached information to the cloud. A simple idea that solves a huge real-world hurdle for remote ops.
So far, we've been talking about monitoring what's happening right now. But the real cutting edge of this transformation, it's all about predicting what's going to happen next. And for that, it's time to talk about the digital twin.
So what on earth is a digital twin? Think of it like this. It's a dynamic, virtual model of a physical asset, like a pump or an engine. And the keyword there is dynamic. It's a living replica, constantly being updated with real-time sensor data so it evolves right alongside its physical counterpart.
To really get why this is so powerful, just think about the limits of a regular sensor. A sensor on a heat exchanger, for example, can tell you its current temperature. That's useful for sure. But what it can't tell you is the cumulative stress those metal tubes have been under for years. It can't give you a reliable estimate of its remaining useful life. For that, you need to go deeper.
So how does it see the future? Well, it's basically a four-step process. First, engineers build a super detailed virtual model and run all kinds of advanced simulations on it to understand stress and flow. Then, all that data is used to train a simpler, lightning-fast version, a reduced-order model. Finally, live sensor data from the real world gets fed into that fast model, and that allows it to predict the asset's future health in near real time.
And the result? It's a complete shift from reactive maintenance, fixing things after they break, to truly predictive health management. By anticipating problems before they happen and scheduling repairs proactively, companies can prevent unplanned downtime, which, as you know, can save millions of dollars.
All right, so let's pull all this together. What are the big takeaways here? First, this stuff is not science fiction anymore. It's quickly becoming essential. Second, just like B&B showed us, the best approach is to use technology to enhance your existing strengths, not replace them. Third, the goal is always the same: better efficiency, greater safety, and smarter decisions. And finally, making all this work requires deep collaboration between everyone: operators, manufacturers, and the tech providers.
And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. As this powerful fusion of real-time data and predictive analytics keeps accelerating, how is it truly going to reshape the way we manage our most critical industrial assets? It really feels like we're stepping into an entirely new digital era for these industries, an era built on a foundation of grit but now powered by innovation.